Salutations from space, folks. This is Gemini Brett, astronaut of More Than Astrology and celestial navigator of the Starry Telling podcast. Here to guide us through an exploration of the Venus Synodic Cycle. Just what in the heavens is that? Well, gear up, friends. Because for us to unfold this beautiful mystery, we're going to have to journey together into space. You are looking at your solar system on August 15th, 2015 at 12:21 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which was a very important time for Venus and the Earth. As we zoom in, hot. You can see the Earth, Venus, and the Sun all in a line here. We call this an interior conjunction of Venus to Sun. Now the astronomers, the white coats, and the ways of old, they call this an inferior conjunction. But isn't that term inferior to interior conjunction? Because that's a better description of what's happening here. Venus between Earth and Sun. And this is a wonderful place for us to begin the Cyanotic Cycle of Venus. This meeting of Earth and Venus, which happens every 584 days. All planets have a sidereal period and a cyanotic period. This table comes to us courtesy of livephysics.com, and they explain that the sidereal period is the true orbital period of a planet, the time it takes the planet to complete one full orbit of the Sun. For the Earth, you guessed it, that's 1 year. Venus orbits the Sun in 225 days, but her cyanotic period is 584 days. Cyanotic, or meeting, is the time that elapses between two successive identical configurations as seen from Earth. Like this one, this Venus interior conjunction on August 15th, 2015. 584 days since the last Venus interior conjunction to Sun as seen from Earth, and 584 days before the next. Now, a wonderful way to further our journey into sidereal versus cyanotic is to look at orbit that we are very familiar with, that of the Moon. The Moon's sidereal period is 27.3 days. That's the length of time it takes the Moon to orbit the Earth. But the period that we are more familiar with is the cyanotic period, or the solilunar period, the lunisolar period, because it involves not only the Moon's orbit of the Earth, but the dance between Moon, Earth, and Sun. New moon to new moon, which is 29.5 days. Now we're looking at July 15th, 2015. This was the Cancer new moon, moon between Earth and Sun. So of course we can't see it because it's blinded by the glare of the Sun. We can only see a new moon in those rare occasions of a solar eclipse, which was not the case on July 15th. As we forward through the month or the month, we get to this next very principal phase, 1/4 way through the cycle, the first quarter moon, which is a waxing half, and then to full moon, which was July 31st, moon in opposition to the Sun from Earth's point of view. So on the other side of the zodiac. Then the third quarter moon, the waning half moon, and finally to the next new moon, which was August 14th, 2015 in the sign of Leo. So from July 15th to August 14th, the moon's cyanotic period is 29.5 days. More than 2 days more than its sidereal period, its orbit of 27.3 days, because the Earth is also moving. So it has to orbit the Earth and takes a couple more days to catch up to the next synod or meeting, this alignment between Earth, Moon, and Sun. And this new moon, this Leo new moon on August 14th, came to us the day before this Leo new Venus, this interior conjunction of Venus to Earth and Sun. We're going to move through time and watch this cyanotic dance of Venus and Earth. as they mutually orbit the sun, they will make different geometric relationships to one another. And then we get to this very significant part of the cycle, which will come our way June 6, 2016, in this current cycle, when Venus is on the opposite side of the sun from Earth. This might look like an opposition, but it's not that astrologically or astronomically. This is that Mars in opposition to Earth from the sun, on the other side of Earth from the sun. And that's available for outer planets like Mars and Jupiter and Saturn. It's available to the moon. Moon opposite Earth from sun is full moon. But we can never have a full Venus. We can never have a full Mercury because their orbit is between the Earth's orbit and the sun. So instead we get two conjunctions for the interior planets. The interior conjunction, as we saw with Venus and Earth at the beginning of the cycle, and this, which is an exterior conjunction of Venus to Sun. If we look to Venus at that time, all we see is the sun's light. She is entirely blinded by the sun and as far from Earth as she gets. So we'll continue now, and we get to this next very significant part of the cycle, the end of this current Leo cycle and the beginning of the next cycle, which will be in the sign of Aries when Venus makes interior conjunction to Sun on March 25th, 2017. Okay, now we're back at that August 15th, 2015 Leo interior conjunction of Venus and Sun. And we're going to shift away from this heliocentric or sun-centered view of the solar system and head into the geocentric view, Earth-centered. And this wonderful software, Solar System Scope, you can play with online for free. They've since updated it. It's brilliant, but I haven't downloaded the update because they took away geocentric. And I love this image of Earth-centered. Now we might know this is not scientifically accurate anymore, but we are Earthlings. And so as astrologers, which is a study of the relationship of the planets and Earth, it's important to be able to have an Earth-centered view. You are here on Earth. And so now what I want you to do is, here's Venus conjunct the Sun. Just watch her dance with the Sun from Earth view over time. See how the moon is getting to opposition there, and the conjunction, that's new moon, that's full moon, new moon, full moon. Now back to Venus. And what you'll see with Venus is she can never get on the opposite side of the Earth from the Sun, not even close. Here she is diving under the beams of the sun. She's approaching exterior conjunction, which is June 6, 2016 there. And then she'll separate herself from the sun's beams. What's actually happening at that time is Venus will show herself in the evening sky. And then she'll turn around and head back under the beams to be born again in the east shortly after her next interior conjunction on March 25th, 2017. Now let's take a look at the Venus Synodic Cycle on the chart. Now I know these charts can be confusing with all these cryptic glyphs and such, but of course all of these glyphs just represent planets. The one that looks like the moon is the moon, and here's Jupiter and the Sun and Venus and Mars. And look, this is just a graphical representation of this. Mars, Venus and Sun, Jupiter, Moon, Mercury, down at the bottom Saturn, Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus. So on the chart, Mars, Venus and Sun, Jupiter, Moon, Mercury, and at the bottom Saturn, Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus. See, this is this. And if we go back to the geocentric view here, we can see that what's in the middle of the planet party is the Earth. These pretty lines in the chart are called aspects. They represent the geometric alignments between planets as they surround the Earth at this time, and they are very important astrologically. But for now, we can replace them with the Earth. Or even better, since we are on the Earth, how about this view? And now we are demystifying this map of the planet party as it surrounds the Earth. For you are on Earth, so you are within this map. When we hear that word map, we're used to thinking of up as north, right as east, down as south, and left as west. But this is a map of the sky. So up is up. This is just after noon in August in Seattle, so we would expect to see the sun near the top of the sky, and that's what we see here. Up is up. And if you're looking from the northern hemisphere above the Tropic of Cancer, where the system was defined, the planets, including the sun and moon, always travel in the southern sky. The sun gets higher in the summer, lower in the winter, but it's always in the south when we are looking from up here. So if we are looking south to see the planets, and up is up, that makes right west, and left east. East, where things are rising. This is why this is the rising sign, or the ascendant, where things ascend, planets ascend, stars ascend. And the right is the west, or the setting sign, the descendant, where planets and stars set or descend, of course, due to the spin of Earth on its axis. So this left east and right west line, this is the horizon. Everything below that line is in the southern hemisphere sky for those of us looking from the north. Okay, a couple more topics from the Astronaut 101 course before we get back to the Venus Synodic Cycle. First, diurnal motion versus zodiacal motion. Diurnal motion is the apparent clockwise motion of the planets on this map, rising in the east, setting in the west, which is an effect of the Earth spinning the other way, counterclockwise on this map. So we're going to watch that. I'm going to play this through time. You can see the time changing here, the planets moving clockwise through our sky, or rising in the east as Saturn just rose, and setting in the west as Mars is about to set into the southern hemisphere sky. And here's sunset. We get to the dark, or purple anyway. So Saturn can be seen. It's dark out, right? And before the sun rises, Mars will rise and can be seen in the morning sky. Venus will not be seen here. She's too close to the sun, so the glare of the dawn will not allow us to see her light. Diurnal motion. We're going to put the Earth back in the center of the chart to observe zodiacal motion, because this is an observation of the planetary motions as they orbit the sun, or an observation from Earth of how the planets move through our skies, through the seasonal signs of the zodiac, or the constellations of the zodiac, which, by the way, are different things, but that's a lesson for another time. Now what you're going to see here as I push play is that the planets will be moving in the opposite direction to diurnal motion. They will be moving counterclockwise. So you can see this with the moon moving from Virgo to Libra to Scorpio, right, through zodiacal order. And this is true for all of the planets, unless they are moving retrograde like Venus is here, which is shown by red on this beautiful software called Sky Engine. Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, all retrograde, and there was Venus stationing direct. Uh-oh, did he say retrograde? Ring the alarm. Well, to demystify that one, we're gonna have to head back out to space. From a geocentric worldview, there is no way to explain the nature of retrograde planets. The ancients came up with all sorts of models to explain this phenomenon, and none of them worked. And often that which we cannot explain, we tend to fear. But from a heliocentric worldview, there's really no problem with explaining the nature of a planetary retrograde. Just as a car that we are passing on the highway appears to move backwards for a time, so does a planet appear to move backwards through the constellations of the zodiac when Earth is passing it. So here on August 15th, 2015, at the time of the Venus interior conjunction, Neptune is retrograde because Earth is passing Neptune in our orbits. Uranus is retrograde as well. The further out the planet is, the longer the retrograde period will be. This is true for cars on the highway too, but be careful when you test that science. Now, just about in the middle of a planetary retrograde, we find this alignment, in this case Uranus, in opposition to the Sun, or on the other side of Earth from Sun, and this brings that planet closest to Earth and brightest in our sky. So if planetary proximity or luminosity has anything to do with the way their energies participate with our own, wouldn't this make that planet stronger rather than weaker, as many astrologers suggest? It seems that as we shifted to a heliocentric worldview, astronomy demystified the superstition of planetary retrogrades. Has astrology caught up? Now, of course, we cannot pass Venus or Mercury in space because they move faster than us. And when they pass us, they appear to move retrograde through the constellations of the zodiac. So here's the Mercury retrograde period, and here's the Venus retrograde period. The middle of the Venus retrograde period being her interior conjunction, when she is as close to the Earth as she can get. So why would that be a weak Venus? Why would this be a time we should not engage in love, as some astrologers seem to suggest? Doesn't Venus always want love? Now, a special thing happens when Venus is retrograde, when she is passing Earth in space. She moves from an evening star to a morning star. And we can see that more clearly on the chart. All right, here we are back at the Venus interior conjunction, August 15th, 2015, 12:21 p.m. Pacific. We know this is an interior conjunction because Venus is red, which means retrograde on Sky Engine software. And when she is retrograde, she is between Earth and Sun. She is passing Earth. So this is a Venus interior conjunction to Sun. We're going to watch this dance with Venus and Earth and Sun over time. And to make it easier, I'm going to take everything but Venus and Sun off of this chart. We know, of course, Earth is in the middle. Let me move them on this day of August 15th to the western horizon. It's sunset, right? And what I'm going to do now is go back in time by weeks. 4, 5, this is 6 weeks back, July 4th, 2015. Venus was very close to Jupiter then. All right, so I'll move forward to sunset. And what you're going to see is that Venus is very high in the western sky. She is a bright evening star, the light of the goddess beaming down on us. When she is this far from the sun, this high in the western sky, she can actually cast shadows on Earth on a moonless night. But as I cruise through time, I'm just going to go by day here. And Venus is slowing. She is beginning to pass the Earth almost. So she is starting to station retrograde, which you can see when she turned red there was July 25th, 2015. She is passing Earth, and now very quickly she dives under the beams of the sun. She's still seen here. This is August 1st, maybe, because when the sun sets, she's high enough in the western sky to be seen. And that really depends on where you are looking from on Earth. It's hard for us this far north in Seattle. The general rule is that when Venus gets within 10 degrees of the sun, her light disappears. She falls under the beams, according to terminology from the Hellenistic astrologers. Or in shamanic astrology, we say, in a sense, this is Venus descending into the underworld, because we imagine this is how the ancients would have imagined it when Venus's light disappeared from our skies. Because she's retrograde, passing Earth, from our view, Venus and the sun are moving in opposite directions now. So this is a very fast trip for Venus under the beams. We get to this place August 15th when Venus is conjunct the sun. And what we're going to do here is move them over to the eastern horizon. Now, again, Venus cannot be seen on August 16th because she's rising with the sun. Right? She's going to culminate with the sun. She's going to set with the sun. She'll rise with the sun the next day. Again, the rule is about 10 degrees separation from the sun before Venus can be seen again, which might have happened on August 22nd. Certainly 10 degrees happened then. But could she be seen? Not here in Seattle, but in some northern latitudes. Absolutely. And when Venus is first seen in the morning sky, just for a moment before the glare of the sun at sunrise takes her away from our view, this is called the heliacal rise of Venus. Now, she's still passing Earth. She's still retrograde. So very quickly, Venus is going to rise in the morning sky. And you can see that here on September 6th, she changes colors back to the black. She has finished her pass of the Earth, but she is still slower than the sun, even though she's moving forward now. I mean, before we can put the car in forward from reverse, we have to hit park for a second. And this is what we see when a planet stations retrograde. It appears to stop at a space of the zodiac for a time. So the sun is moving faster than Venus. She rises to her height. That will happen on October 25th or 26th, 2015. And then she begins chasing the sun down. Now I'm going to play this through time. It's not going to be fixed horizons, but we know now that when Venus is on this side of the sun, she's a morning star. When she's on this side of the sun, she's an evening star. So just watch this dance as we cruise through time here. You can see the time changing here. We're in December, January. She's getting pretty close. When she gets within 10 degrees of the sun, again, she disappears into the underworld. And this is Venus moving behind the sun, okay? And she's moving in the same direction as the sun, as seen from Earth. So this one takes some time. On average, about 60 days for Venus to move behind the sun, to be under the beams before she is born again in the evening sky when she separates by 10 degrees. Of course, between the time that she disappears in the east and rises in the west, she makes that exterior conjunction to the sun, June 6, 2016, in the sign of Gemini. Then she's in the west, right, which we know is happening because she's on this side of the sun, and she very quickly rises to her height there. I shouldn't say very quickly. It's actually many months, almost 9 months. She gets to her height, and then as she begins to pass the Earth again, she will go retrograde and then quickly dive under the beams and begin her next cycle, with this interior conjunction March 25th, 2017. From here we will dive deep into the mythologies of Inanna, Queen of Heaven and Earth, the Sumerian Venus. We will see how Inanna's starry stories correlate to this 19-month Venus Synodic Cycle, this dance of Venus with Earth and Sun. We will see how the mysteries of the moon bring us from this to this, a spiritual practice of release, rebirth, and retrieval, as visioned forth by Daniel Gemario and Kaylin Castell of the Shamanic Astrology Mystery School. Follow along by signing up for this public free Facebook group, The Sovereign Scepter of the Lioness, by subscribing to this YouTube playlist where the videos like this will be posted, the SoundCloud playlist where audios will be posted. There will be many teachings. There will be beautiful original music by the most magical Maria Stark and others. There will be art and drum journeys and guided meditations and interviews with great astrologers and many other healers and feelers from all walks of the way. We'll see you in space, folks. This is your friendly astrolonaut, Gemini Brett, signing off. Love and planets.